look at the red star in the night sky and you feel nothing. You look at the violence in the streets, the screaming matches in the digital colosseum, the sudden, irrational outbursts of your colleagues, the fracturing of your family, and you blame the news. You blame the economy. You blame the opposing political faction. You believe that the chaos you are witnessing in the year 2026 is entirely a product of social engineering, philosophical decay, or simple human failing. You are missing the baseline. You are ignoring the invisible, overarching architecture of the cosmos. You believe that because you live in a world of wireless internet and artificial intelligence, you have somehow disconnected your biology from the orbital mechanics of the solar system. You are hallucinating. We have warned you about the Bing Wu. We have briefed you on the extreme yang energy of the fire horse year. We have decoded the king of terror and the algorithmic furnace that is incinerating the nervous system of the masses. But the fire horse does not ride alone. Michel de Nostradame, in his infamous 1999 quatrain, concluded his vision of the king of terror with a specific, chilling addendum. Before and after, Mars to reign by good luck. Mars, the god of war, the red planet, the cosmic governor of iron, blood, aggression, and raw, unthinking kinetic force. You think of planets as dead rocks floating in a vacuum. You think of astrology as a parlor trick for the weak-minded. Esoteric tradition and advanced structural physics know otherwise. The planets are massive electromagnetic oscillators. They broadcast a specific, measurable frequency that interacts directly with the crystalline structures of the human brain and the iron coursing through human blood. When Mars approaches, when its frequency aligns with the catastrophic heat of the Bing Wu year, it does not suggest violence. It demands it. This is a strategic briefing on the Mars frequency. We are going to decode the biological and psychological impact of the red planet's current orbital alignment. We are going to reveal how the architects of the new city, the masters of the digital panopticon, are actively harvesting this planetary radiation to turn the human population into a synchronized army of blind, screaming gladiators. And we are going to teach you how the sovereign mind can isolate this frequency, immune itself to the mass psychosis, and weaponize the resulting chaos to achieve absolute, unyielding dominance in the physical world. Fate is a code to be broken. Let us decode the frequency of war. To understand the Mars frequency, you must first understand the relationship between the cosmos and your endocrine system. In the ancient world, the alchemists understood that macrocosm dictates microcosm. As above, so below. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is a description of sympathetic resonance. Just as a tuning fork will begin to vibrate when a similar tuning fork is struck across the room, the human nervous system is tuned to resonate with the heavy bodies of our solar system. Mars governs the adrenal glands. It governs the fight-or-flight response. It is the biological switch that floods your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline, redirecting energy away from the prefrontal cortex, the seat of logic, reason, and long-term planning, and shoving it entirely into the muscles, the heart, and the lungs. It is the frequency of immediate, kinetic survival. In a state of nature, the Mars frequency is necessary. It is the energy you use to fight off a predator, to lift a heavy stone, to defend your physical perimeter from a physical invasion. It is designed to be used in short, explosive bursts, followed by a long period of physical rest and neurological recovery. But you do not live in a state of nature. You live in the new city. You live inside the digital panopticon. In the year 2026, the Mars frequency is being broadcast into an environment that has been artificially engineered to trap it. The king of terror, the algorithm, is a machine built to harvest human attention. The architects of this machine understand that a calm, rational human being is a terrible consumer. A human being at peace does not click. A human being at peace does not scroll endlessly. A human being at peace does not buy things they do not need to soothe a void they do not understand. The algorithm requires agitation. It requires friction. And the Mars frequency provides the ultimate, infinite source of that friction. The machine has tuned its receivers to the exact wavelength of the red planet. When the Mars frequency hits the Earth, triggering the subtle biological urge for conflict in the human animal, the algorithm amplifies it a billionfold. It does this through the mechanics of the false trumpets. Every time you open your device, the machine analyzes your psychological profile, identifies your highest ideals, and deliberately serves you content that violates those ideals. It shows you the ideological enemy. It shows you the outrage. It blows the false trumpet, triggering the Mars-induced adrenal response. Your body perceives a threat. The Mars frequency tells your brain that you are under attack. Your heart rate spikes. Your breathing becomes shallow. The iron in your blood practically hums with the demand for kinetic release. Fight, your biology screams. But there is no physical enemy. The threat is a pixelated image on a screen of black glass. The enemy is an anonymous avatar on the other side of the planet. You cannot reach through the screen and strike them. You cannot use the kinetic energy the Mars frequency has generated. This is the kinetic trap. This is the somatic toll of the modern age. Because you cannot physically fight, you are forced to vent this massive, pressurized martial energy into the digital colosseum. You type a furious response. You engage in a bitter, multi-threaded argument with a phantom. You share the outrage to your own feed, passing the virus, amplifying the signal, becoming a willing broadcaster of the very frequency that is destroying you. You think you are defending your honor. You think you are fighting for truth. You are not. You are a hamster in a wheel, running yourself to death to generate electricity for a machine that does not care about your cause. You are taking the sacred, martial energy of the cosmos and pouring it directly into the gaping maw of the egregore. And what happens to your physical vessel? What happens to the human body when it is perpetually trapped in a state of martial arousal without ever achieving physical release? The engine blows. The Mars frequency, when denied a physical outlet, turns inward. It becomes an autoimmune response against the self. You suffer from chronic neuroinflammation. Your joints ache. Your sleep is fractured, haunted by the digital phantoms you fought during the day. You develop the bored arsonist psychology, so overstimulated and utterly numb that you begin burning down your own life, sabotaging your own relationships, your own career, and your own peace of mind, just to feel the heat of the flames. This is the woo-woo self-penalty amplified by the god of war. It is the mass psychosis of 2026. The masses are walking around like exploding batteries, radiating blind, directionless aggression. They are snapping at their children. They are destroying decades-long friendships over manufactured political binaries. They are exhausted, brittle, and terrifyingly volatile. They are entirely possessed by the Mars frequency, and they have no idea that the radio is even turned on. If you wish to survive the Bingwu year, if you intend to emerge from this era of mass psychosis with your sovereign mind intact, you must learn to command the frequency. You cannot ignore it. You cannot block it out. The radiation is omnipresent. You must transmute it. The amateur, the prey, senses the rise in global aggression and attempts to seek peace. They attempt to meditate it away. They try to cool down. They preach tolerance, understanding, and de-escalation. They see the world catching fire, and they try to act as the extinguisher. We have established the fatal flaw in this logic. A glass of water thrown into a solar flare is instantly vaporized. Mitigation is the language of the prey. When the world is operating on the Mars frequency, preaching peace makes you a target. It signals to the possessed masses that you are weak, that you lack the iron to hold your perimeter. It invites the wolves to your door. You cannot negotiate with a war god. You must adopt his tools, but you must wield them with a cold, saturnine discipline that the masses completely lack. The defining characteristic of the possessed herd in 2026 is that their aggression is reactive. It is hot, emotional, and utterly uncontrolled. They are slaves to the stimulus. The algorithm pushes a button, and they explode. The sovereign mind separates the stimulus from the response. When you feel the Mars frequency hit your biology, when you read the outrage-inducing headline, when you encounter the irrational hostility of a possessed colleague, you must observe the physical sensation in your body. You feel the heat rise in your chest. You feel the urge to strike back. You must capture that energy. You do not vent it. You do not type the angry response. You execute the protocol of the void. You establish the air gap. You lower your digital albedo to 0. You become the gray man, entirely invisible to their digital radar. But you do not discard the energy. The Mars frequency is a highly potent, highly valuable fuel source. You take that raw martial heat and you funnel it entirely into the construction and defense of your physical empire. You use the aggression to lift heavy iron. You execute the ATP dump. You force the energy into your muscles, grounding the frequency into the physical reality of the old city. You remind your body that you are a physical creature, and you give the fight or flight response the kinetic exhaustion it is desperately craving. And then, you take the clarity that follows the physical exhaustion, and you apply it to the board. Because 2026 is a year of warfare, the arenas of power, business, capital, and the law are fundamentally altered. The old rules of polite corporate engagement and mediated dispute resolution are dead. They have been incinerated in the furnace of the fire horse. You must become the apex predator of the new environment. Let us be absolutely clear about the legal arena. When you are engaged in a legal dispute during a Mars-dominant year, you are not dealing with rational actors. You are dealing with adversaries whose logic has been scrambled by the neuroinflammation of the digital flashover. They will be erratic. They will be highly emotional. They will make decisions based on ego, digital vanity, and blind panic. The amateur lawyer, operating on the outdated programming of the old world, will attempt to reason with them. The amateur will attempt risk mitigation. They will look at the chaos, feel the heat of the conflict, and seek a settlement to make the discomfort stop. They will offer concessions in the name of peace. This is a profound, unforgivable strategic failure. In the year of the fire horse, under the reign of Mars, mitigation is suicide. When you offer a settlement to a possessed opponent, they do not see reason. They see blood in the water. They interpret your desire for peace as proof that their blind aggression is working. It emboldens the egregore driving their actions. It guarantees that they will continue to attack you, bleed your resources, and drag you into a never-ending war of attrition. We prioritize absolute strategic dominance over risk mitigation. When your adversary attacks, you do not de-escalate. You absorb their initial, uncoordinated strike, and then you crush them with overwhelming, disproportionate, unyielding force. You use their Mars-induced volatility as your primary weapon. You let them scream. You let them file their aggressive, emotionally unhinged briefs. You allow them to burn through their capital and their credibility in the blinding light of the colosseum. You do not interrupt them while they are making a mistake. And then, when they have exhausted their kinetic energy, when they are gasping for air and expecting you to meet them at the negotiating table, you lock the doors. You drop the heavy, immovable, freezing cold weight of the Saturnine law directly onto their neck. You do not aim for a favorable verdict. You aim for the total psychological and structural demolition of their entity. You weaponize the rules of civil procedure, the cold, bureaucratic, merciless machinery of the court, to strip them of their assets, exhaust their remaining lifeblood, and establish a permanent, terrifying precedent. You must make the friction of attacking your perimeter so agonizing, so completely destructive to their existence, that the entire market takes notice, and the invisible egregores learn to rout around your citadel. You trap them in a legal checkmate from which there is absolutely no retreat, using their own blind, arrogant mistakes as the very chains that bind them. You conquer the territory, and you salt the earth behind you. This same ruthlessness applies to the marketplace. The Mars frequency will induce panic in the financial sectors. Corporations, terrified by the algorithmic mobs and the false trumpets, will make disastrous reactive decisions. They will abandon their core principles to appease the digital phantoms. They will alienate their physical customer base in pursuit of invisible, synthetic clout. As a result, their valuations will plummet. Their physical structures will weaken. The herd will dump their assets in a state of manufactured terror. You do not join the panic. You do not try to warn the herd. You wait in the shadows of the gray man theory. You watch the valuations fall, You watch the weak, possessed entities bleed themselves dry. And when the asset hits the absolute floor, you strike. You execute the hostile takeover. You acquire the physical property, the wet ink contracts, the manufacturing infrastructure, and the heavy machinery for pennies on the dollar. You do not gloat. You do not announce your victory to the digital mob. You quietly absorb the territory into your parallel economy. You take the resources that the fools burned in the digital fire, and you add them to the foundation of your own impenetrable fortress. Nostradamus said, "Before and after Mars to reign by good luck." We have established that luck is a myth designed to comfort the incompetent. Luck is the intersection of absolute preparation and elemental alignment. To reign by Mars is to understand that the cosmos is currently rewarding those who possess the iron discipline to harness the frequency of war without being consumed by the emotion of it. The masses are fighting a war against phantoms. They are swinging their swords at the digital air, exhausting their muscles, draining their adrenals, and destroying their own civilization to feed the algorithm. You are fighting a different war. You are fighting a war for reality. You are fighting to secure the analog archive. You are fighting to preserve the immutable physical truths of the old city against the revisionist gaslighting furnace of the new city. You are printing the books, saving the data offline, and hoarding the physical evidence of human history because you know that the cloud is a lie and the digital grid is destined to collapse under the weight of its own psychotic heat. You are building the citadel. The Mars frequency is not a curse. It is a catalyst. It is the fire that melts the weak and forges the strong. It is the planetary radiation that separates the sovereign mind from the biological battery. Do not fear the red star. Do not hide from the aggression. Absorb it. Filter it through the cold, calculating machinery of your intellect. Strip it of its emotion, its panic, and its outrage. Distill it into pure, concentrated, kinetic power. And then deploy it. Deploy it to secure your perimeter. Deploy it to crush your adversaries. Deploy it to expand your empire in the exact moment the rest of the world is paralyzed by the false trumpets. The year 2026 is a crucible. The fire horse is running, and the god of war is whipping its flanks. The atmosphere is ignited, and the weak are already turning to ash. Let them burn. Let the empty prophets lead their screaming flocks into the incinerator. Let the king of terror feast on the data of the damned. You have a different destiny. You are the author of your own physical reality. Sever the connection to the machine. Step out of the digital panopticon. Take hold of the iron. The frequency of war is ringing in the air. Make sure you are the one holding the hammer, and not the one lying on the anvil. This is Prescient. We are watching the board, and we are calculating the exact trajectory of your absolute conquest. On this channel, we decode the architecture of fate, breaking it down into systems you can use to dominate the board. If you possess the discipline for this type of content, subscribe to our channel. Otherwise, return to the Colosseum. We may never see each other again. See you again soon, dear viewer.